got some ways. We've got some ways to get a hold of you, and it is Dawn. And I do remember that in our first interaction, which I have put into the comments, and Scott can bring that onto the screen, which means in replay, anyone will be able to see it in replay in the future. So a year from now, 3 years from now, there will be I've got a YouTube link to that. There's also a LinkedIn link. You can always find everything at agingbetternetwork.com. That's
Great.
where I'm at. And here we've got Dawn, and you told me how to remember, but I didn't go back and practice. Is it possible that your last name sounds like a place where you would raise a number if you wanted to bid?
Especially if you are from Boston. It would be an
Oh,
auction.
auction.
Yes, that's it.
Oh my goodness. I feel like, that was just a couple of maybe months ago that we spoke, and yet it was August 24th, 2022.
Wow, it has been a while.
Yes. I mean,
Wow.
you may have come in when I said, "Hey, let's have a reunion." You may have come in on one of those groups as well. I can't imagine that I would have, not said, "Don, Don, Don, come back, come back."
Well,
Um,
I have been back a second time. Yes, it's true.
Good, good. I'm glad that you verified that I wasn't just hoping really hard. I'm too excited about why the two of us are talking today. And since I was out of state, back on my old stomping grounds, my original, at age 9, we moved to Oregon. But that wasn't my doing. But I was very happy about it because I had fun cousins and grandparents and uncles and aunts and etc. that I was going to be closer to because I'd always vacationed with them. We'd gone up to visit them, or they had come down to California to visit us. But now I got to live in Oregon. At this point, I just told you, Dawn, that 1 year ago, we hopped in the Buick that was packed up, past the bottom of the windows, but we could still see out, and drove to Waco. We had visited it. We both started talking about it. I often joke that we've only agreed on a few things. One of them was a sofa, not shopping around or belaboring the point. And this was one that we thoroughly agreed on, that we actually wanted to come back and live in this city and be part of it. And the second thing we did, besides get keys and let the moving people bring in our stuff from the big pod, was to join the Chamber of Commerce. And I mentioned to you, I'm accustomed to talking to people, 4 and 5 of them at a time, some that I know a bit about, some I've known for a while, someone I've never met comes over, and I'm excited for them to join in. So I will briefly describe that a person I knew rather well, Charlotte Joseph, and a person that I'd been around a couple of times named Miriam Haugen, a person who had been on the show with my husband and his buddy, Russ Hedge, who was Maxwell Cohen, and a gentleman, oh my goodness, last name McDonald. Oh, I have to go back and peek. But I mean, he came back for the 100th show. He came back because I had asked him if he would consider being a guest on my first ever show. And oh my goodness, why can't I remember his first name right now? I'll get to it. He had said in a comment, "I'll just be listening today." He was listening to someone else. I was still learning how to click around and find things, because social media was something my husband did. I didn't have to. He took care of it. So I saw that he had said, I'll just be listening to whatever live show it was. I'm a little low on energy because of treatments. Often makes me think cancer. And I said, would you be willing to come on and talk? And he said yes. And, based on whether he was at a medical appointment or had the energy, and he did have the energy, he came on and introduced us to the medical practice of being a live liver donor.
Whoa.
So your recovery, as everything goes well, is about as long as your donor recipient's recovery. So at the 100th episode, which quick math tells you it was nearly 2 years later, he came back on, not just to report that he had received a liver, but also to let us know about this woman and her story of donating almost all of her liver. There was enough that is always left that regenerates. So we kind of have the starfish thing going on, or salamander tail, lizard tail thing of regeneration when you lose a chunk, but not the whole thing.
I never knew that.
Yes, I'd never heard of that. And it was up to him to find a donor. So what do? Wear a sandwich board? Please give me the majority of your liver. It will only take you 12 weeks to recover. You're going to have a huge scar that looks like a backwards L in your abdomen for the rest of your living days. You'll have a story to tell. And so he told the story of that woman on the 100th episode. Going back again, there was one more person on the screen besides Charla, Miriam, Maxwell, McDonald, and it was you, Don Auction,
Yes.
Don Auction, who was doing a blog. Can you tell us more about that blog? I mean, that was August 24th, 2022, and I discovered you. I unearthed this blog by this gentleman, and I said the same thing. Would you come in and be a guest in a group and just tell me about what you do? No agenda, no questions, no backing you in a corner. And we just talked. So the blog.
It's still going.
And it's called
The End Game.
The End Game. Does that put people off? It's like, what do you mean the end? It's supposed to be, something that seems like it's continuing. Or do they get it?
I haven't gotten a lot of pushback about the name. I think people are getting used to it.
Good.
But there were so many worse choices, like fourth quarter sudden death.
Sports.
Yeah.
I'm hearing the sports.
Right. So the End Game was fairly benign by that comparison. But I've been doing it weekly for more than 4 years now. And the blog is all about ways to age in a positive way, looking on the bright side for the most part, not ignoring the obstacles, which are many, but trying to keep a positive spin and looking at the years that we have as a gift, because we've been blessed to live in a time when medical advances have been such that things that used to mean sudden death have now, we now get treatment and we can live for a long time in good health, which is also how I came about to write the book that has just been published. It's called The Afterwork. finding fulfilling alternatives to retirement. That's it. And the the point of the book is that now that we have longer lives, the whole idea of retirement has kind of disappeared. Retirement, that is. And by retirement, I mean a period that marks the beginning of the end, which is kind of what the word retirement suggests. It's a withdrawal, it's a retreat, it's a stepping down. And I suggest that that's no longer where we are. And what we should do is come up with a new term, which I call the afterwork, which is a more positive spin and suggests that by the time we reach retirement age, we have 25 to 30 years statistically to still enjoy. And that's a long time to be sipping pina coladas. And it's too long to play tennis every day. So let's look at what we can do in that period of time. And then I lay out some alternatives, which include, staying at work because you love it, staying at work because you have to, you can't afford not to, working part-time, taking your childhood dream and turning it into a passion project. Did you want to learn to speak another language when you were a kid and never got around to it? Okay, learn a language. Did you want to become an opera singer? Well, go ahead and practice. And you know what? It doesn't matter whether you become the most successful opera singer in the world or not. Just getting out there and trying it is worth the energy. And you're
yes, pursuit. We are
right.
not, we're guaranteed, oh my goodness, now I can't say it except for the end. Life, guaranteed. The founding fathers said, I think life is good, so let's make life part of it. And then liberty, that's kind of
Right.
why we're fighting so hard and we're writing so hard. But I really appreciate the wisdom behind the pursuit of happiness, the breaking out of the cocoon or the eggshell is the beginning of using those muscles of development so that you don't just flop. You don't flop into retirement. I believe retiring is what I just see someone in a silky jacket with an ascot saying, I believe I'll retire early tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be rest,
get
horizontal and assume that you're going to sleep. And I think that's great because we should get more sleep, but you're going to sleep away the rest of your life. And I do know that statistics were so different. There is a cemetery in Oregon. It's very tiny. I mean, it ended up with a street on one side and then a street on the other side. And then someone put one there and it's just a triangle. That's all there is. Very old headstones. Did the math looking all around in this little spot that's so odd that it has a triangle of streets coming in, stop signs, yield and all, and looked around in there and saw that no one was 60. No one made it to 60 in that cemetery. So I could see the long-standing, instead of old, because that carries a connotation.
Okay.
The long-standing tradition was, whoa, you made it to 60? Sit down, take care of yourself, let people serve you.
Right.
And now you're just going, I only turned 81. I mean, yes, I've had a few things replaced, but there are people of all ages that have had medical help. What I'm looking at is is putting my spin on how I'm going to pursue something I haven't before, or I didn't pursue it fully, or now I have been really good at failing miserably at things. I
That's
have
great.
been astonishingly successful, surprised myself at other things. And I have survived both. Can I just go into the category of curiously valuing things that can I pick up an instrument and play it to my own pleasure? Could I volunteer to do something where I actually assist people who are both beyond my age and below my age, and not worry about age at all? But I am able or willing or talented enough to do something alongside them so that they can get on to the things they like to do. And
Yeah.
that's what I get to do when I drive people to their appointments as a volunteer through an organization local here. And they get to tell me their own spin on the history of Waco,
Hmm.
meaning when I was a teenager, I got in trouble over there. I mean, it's a such and such now, but back when it was the hangout, and but I didn't get in as much trouble as my girlfriend did, kind of a thing. And I'm just like, they're great at this, telling me stuff I need to know. There are plants and animals here I've not quite met or understood yet. Something about wild grapes, and you don't want to pick them or throw them in your mouth, or there's a way to cook them or it's something. And I'm just like, what? So these people are really talented and gifted and experienced in many ways, can tell me the best way, go over here. You're just going to go this way. And it saves you a lot of blocks, but it doesn't look like a direct route to get back to there. And I'm like, I will remember that. Thank you for that hint. So
Hmm.
I am grateful that my retirement is including rest, but also doing some things that I haven't done in a while, which is providing an amount of assistance to people who are otherwise homebound if they don't have a driver. And
Right.
so I'm like the after work, and it's like, yeah, I tell I call the boss of my coordinator my boss. I'm like, oh, my boss said such and such, and I'm like, I'm enjoying this because they asked me to act out something that I do,
Right.
assisting a person in and out of a car, not physically, but just, making sure the door stays open. And they filmed it because they won an award and they wanted to have, what can you do to be part of this nonprofit? And
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, and I know just the person. And I tell you, she was a great actress. She stole the show. She was wonderful. I hope they captured the looks on her face, because I was just showing that it's not anything that you have to think, well, what if I'm not good at it? So,
Well,
oh,
I think that's what's one of the best features of this period
mm,
of after work, because by the time we reach that point, we have really dispensed with all the adulting responsibilities. Hopefully,
mm,
we have raised the children, we have paid for college, or mostly. Uh, Maybe we've paid off our student loans, maybe their student loans. The house is probably paid for. Um, we're done adulting. We've made all the responsibilities. We passed the audition, and now whatever we do, it isn't fraught with expectations, and it isn't fraught with, oh my goodness, if I fail this, the whole world is going to come down. It
mm.
it doesn't matter. A couple things I wanted to say too about you raising curiosity. Um, one of the things that scientists have found is that the people who live the longest and who live the best are the ones that have a positive view of aging. And there's a study that was done by Becca Levy at Yale
Yeah.
University that said people who are positive live 7.5 years longer than those who are not. And that's science. And one of the things that makes the difference between positive outlook and negative outlook is curiosity. If you're still curious, if you're still wondering about things and you're willing to not take things at face value, but look a little deeper or ask questions, then that shows some purpose and some optimism about things, and that is kind of a key. The other thing that seems to be really key is social connection. And when you talk about your volunteering work, I see social connection with other people being a very big part of what you're doing and why you're doing it. And people, I mean, Barbara Streisand said it, but people who love other people are the happiest people in the world. Who need other people. That was it. People who need other people are the happiest people. It's still true. And unfortunately, a lot of people, as they get older, tend to become more isolated.
Yeah.
They tend to become lonely. If they have hearing problems or vision problems, they're less willing to go out in public because it's difficult and it's embarrassing. And the ones who can get over those impediments and still be with people and still enjoy the company of other people are the ones who are the most likely to thrive in this time.
You brought up positive. So the title is The Afterwork, and then what's the subtitle again?
Finding fulfilling alternatives to retirement.
And I want to thank my hubby producer, D. Scott Smith, motivational listener, for just I was gone for a couple weeks. I brought in some of the past episodes so that I wouldn't be trying to figure out how I can be at someone else's house and still host something. Or, my brain melts and I forget I'm in a different time zone and I don't show up or whatever. So thank you for picking this up and showing it. And honestly, when I first glanced at the front of this, when I was peeking before we got started, I actually saw in my mind's eye an airplane. And this airplane's like, ooh, an alternative route, or maybe I'll flip over this way. And it's a plus for possibly a positive outlook on retirement. Did you?
In fact, I didn't direct the cover designer.
Oh,
Someone else designed this and did a beautiful job. I'm delighted with it.
yes.
I thought of it as a butterfly.
There we go.
And it's a kind of flying in random motion. The plus is certainly a very good point. Also, my own career path has followed the line of this pretty closely. It was not a straight line. And I think when people are in the afterwork and they're trying things on, it's not necessarily going to be a straight line. You may try something and then say, no, that's not working. Let me try something else. And you may come back to things. And that's okay too. Again, it's nobody's there to tell you it's wrong. Nobody's there to say, well, if you don't volunteer every day, you're really letting us down. It's what you feel you want to do and what you can gain from it that really matters. And there are lots of lots of things that you can do. The object is to do something and to have some kind of a purpose and to do it with other people and to make something of these gift years that you've been given. And that's the whole premise.
Don, what's wrong with our society? This is a simple question. I know you'll be able to answer it in 45 seconds or less.
You only ask the easy ones.
What is wrong with our society? What is it that causes you to do a blog for more than 4 years every week? Is that right?
Yes.
That your blog is not how to show your gratefulness for being 29 years old and perfectly healthy, mobile, and capable. Because I don't think you'd get much of an audience. They're like, I already know how to enjoy my general health, my outlook on my future. The future is wide open. I've just got, big things ahead. Maybe I shouldn't even say 29 because I had a hard time turning 30. I just thought, what? I kept saying, rip youth, rest in peace, youth. It's like, how come I'm not one of the young people anymore? What's this middle thing? 30 something, was a show. It's like, so that's different. So I'll just say, choose your number. No one needs a blog on that. But people need to have a different thought inserted on the end game, because it seems like you've climbed and climbed and you're going to run out of mountain or ladder or the ability to go. It seems like you're going to be sliding down or falling off the top or something. People are like, oh, you're that old, or people who literally say, oh, I hope I don't live as that long. And it's just like, you would be very concerned about, I'll say, a 21-year-old who says, I hope I don't live to be 45. That's just, and you'd be like, oh my goodness, we've got to get some counseling going here. What happened to that person? So I'm asking you, what happened to society? Because what happened to me is that a lady said, you'd make a good caregiver. And I ended up being around people in their 90s regularly. And there wasn't a generational disparity. By the time we got to know each other and discuss things, I didn't think about, oh, yeah, but you're in your 90s. I'm only in my 50s. It just wasn't there as we would share something about, salad dressings or even talking about a war that I wasn't alive for, but I've seen footage, kind of a thing. What happened to our society that we have to be told, hey, there's a more positive perspective than maybe if I don't think about it, it'll go away, or now that I'm here.
Well, there is an answer to that question, believe it or not.
Good.
And it is ageism. There is a built-in cultural bias against old. And because there is, people are afraid to admit that they're old. People are afraid to look old. People are afraid to wear hearing aids because it makes them look weak. People are afraid to do simple things that would help them because they look old. And we are a society that worships youth and beauty. And our ideal of beauty is someone who is somewhere between 18 and 25 and healthy, but not heavy. And we put all these Yeah. I mean, women have it worse, but everyone feels it, and it's called ageism. It's true at the bottom half as well as at the older half, but we're at the point where we feel it directly. When you're told, don't bother applying, you're too old to apply. Don't even think about this job because you know we let everybody go that's that old. You should be relaxing. There is this philosophy that old people are only there for a short time, and all they do is complain, and it's a time of terrible aches and pains and debilitating illness, and it's a tragedy. And it's really a shame that we can't just put them all on icebergs, but unfortunately with global warming there aren't enough icebergs, and so we're going to have to
Right.
live with them.
Yeah,
That's
back in Oregon, Mount Hood is a rock. I cannot see the glacier I saw from 1969 on. I'm like, I said to my cousin, I said, what happened to the glacier or glaciers on Mount Hood? What happened? I've only been gone a year. They didn't disappear in a year, but I didn't usually have a view of Mount Hood. It's the one you see from Portland. When you see pictures of the city of Portland, there's usually
right.
a mountain in the background. And they usually photograph it when it has nice white snow and a lovely pink glow from the. So yes, there aren't. Yes, the just push them off so that they can die out of our sight, and so that they can just, or maybe I should just say, continue to age out of our realm. So
Right.
I need to say right now, I am guilty of ageism. Number two, I had never heard of that until I started doing these. I'd never heard of it. Now, Jeanette Leardy, who I believe lives in Oregon,
She does.
and Tracy Gendron, they came on, some number of weeks after you were on. So it may have been in 22 or into 2023. And I am applauding right now out loud that Janine Vanderberg, ER,
Yes.
as in ERBURG,
Yes.
that she endorsed your book. This is awesome.
As
I'm
did as
just
did Jeanette
thrilled.
Leardy.
Oh, Liardi, thank you.
Yes.
Oh, yay!
These are
Congratulations.
some of my heroes, because
Yeah.
they've paved the way in getting the word out about some of these things. And ageism is not insurmountable, but it makes things harder. Um,
Mm.
and to a certain extent, we have to ignore it and prove that we're still here and we still have ideas and we haven't lost our minds and we can still do things. And it's a shame we have to prove it, but sometimes that's what it takes.
Hmm.
Um,
People have to be patient. People have to be patient who maybe are in charge and want to be efficient on their own terms, and they have to practice patience with someone who has become employed or is a volunteer. And I'm going, so what's wrong with that? If the cultural shift is practice patience with an adult who maybe walks slower and has HR knowledge that's
right,
in their DNA that is going to help you deal with a situation that has zero to do with age and has everything to do with learning the type of person that you are, your need for this efficiency, this level, or this type, this exact procedure to happen exactly this way, and realize that this person will get to the same spot and will actually have better information to bring into the boardroom, into the conversation at the next meeting, because they have taken, and I'm going to do the dotted lines, they've taken this path to your end. If you practice patience with a person who says, like me, I actually don't know how to get to my email on my phone. I know how to get to it on my computer. It isn't something I've learned yet, but I have learned a lot. So I will give that a try. People practicing patience with a person that's got neurodiversity, again, at any age, people practicing patience maybe with themselves and their own shortcomings, and realizing, wow, I spend half the time beating on myself, and wow, that's just really wasted energy. Why can't I be more like Dawn and just go, you know what? I've been really good at failing, really good at succeeding, really, really great at turning and looking back over the landscape of my own life and drawing lines and connecting dots and going, oh, I've got an epiphany here, and it's gonna change everything up
Well,
for
let me,
people who are just got to finish, got to get here. Why doesn't everyone know the technology that I know? Why doesn't everybody hear me clearly?
and the short answer is people who are younger cannot imagine being old. They
True.
really can't. Let me use an analogy here. If you've ever broken a leg and had to walk around on crutches or in a wheelchair, you really appreciate what has been done because of our commitment to helping people with disabilities by making places more accessible. If you were always able-bodied, you might not notice it, but once you are impaired in any way, even temporarily, you notice that those curb cuts are very helpful, and those ramps instead of stairs are really great.
Yeah.
It's similarly, uh, we live in a world that was built by and for young people. Everything was created for a workforce of people who were going to be young to middle aged, from a society that was going to be middle aged and down. And what we have now is something that we've never had before. If you look at the age pyramid in most societies, there's lots of young people at the bottom that make a base. And then as you go up, there's gradually fewer and fewer people until you get to the very top and you have old people. We are looking now at a picture, and this is worldwide, in which the number of old people and the number of young people are the same. Instead of a pyramid, we're looking at a square. And that means that this is the first time in the world that we know of that this has happened, and it changes everything. And hopefully it will change a lot. It will change the way people think about what's accessible and what's helpful. And maybe, just maybe, some young, innovative software designers in Silicon Valley will start making apps that are easy for old people to use. Do you think? Maybe?
Yay, I was celebrating with two previous two previous guests on aspects of aging who got together at tech. Anyway, it was in Grand Rapids.
Okay.
And both of them are, it's the social aspect of AI, how to continue that socialization, which does everyone realize that the TV, just the television, is company for a person who is homebound or at home a lot more, or I mean that TV, Andy Griffith still just is there for
Right.
you.
Right.
So we already were using technology to help us feel less lonely, using Wheel of Fortune to try to activate both sides of our brain while we, look at how the contestants are responding or how they dress today, etc. Oh, you know what? I am the host. I want to put something out to you that I saw just this morning, and then something that happened on my trip back to Oregon. So just this morning, I saw an advertisement if I wanted to go over there, because I was looking at some of my own YouTube. I was trying to pick those links and pop them into places, and they give you suggestions. I'm just like, yes, I do love that song from the 70s. I will listen to it one more time. And another one was how to dress like you're not old. And it was a female. I'm not sure that there's that much of a market for men to go, ooh, how do I dress like I'm not old? Because of the stigma that women are born into, not born with, but are injected into, I don't know, right around maybe third grade, when you start realizing, oh, I'm taller than, I'm this, I'm that. Oh, the popular girls are, or whatever. So what happened back in Oregon is that I said, I selected a color that I never wear as a top. I went shopping. I said, of all places, this place that I think of as the young place to shop for clothes. It's for young people. And I said, I'm thinking, even though they're really more costly, I like pants for less than $20. Then I'm happy. And I said, I'm thinking of paying twice that just to have something that will complete it. I'm not tall. And so I think that would give me a longer appearance to be all in one deep color. It's an eggplant, deep plum color.
Okay.
So does this matter? No. The response from the person who is exactly my age said, oh, no, 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 no. My 3 daughters-in-law would tell you, do not, and launched into the how not to dress like you aren't aware, you're not in vogue. You're not up to date. And I'm just going, so when I was younger, no one worried about that I was dressing the wrong age. But now there are people who say you should, you shouldn't, because then people will see that you're 65. Because I started this when I was 62. I started Aspects of Aging, started this filming with you when I was 62. Right. Now I'm 65 and Social Security and Medicare. And I'm remembering more often to say, do I get a discount? And I'm just going, that wasn't a thing. I mean, obviously I wouldn't wear children's clothing unless I was dressing up for something when I was in my 20s. But now it's like, don't let people know. And I it's like, are you around gentlemen who are just going, "Oh man, I don't wear that anymore," or "I make sure that I'm wearing so that people don't notice my age." I'm like, aren't people going to kind of catch on? And what if they're the people who they just don't record the number of white hairs, wrinkles, or they think it's great that you actually remember watching the royal wedding at 1 o'clock in the morning, or
Mm.
watching the landing on the moon. They think it's awesome. I'm actually talking to a person. Uh, is this a thing, fashion with men?
It is not. And this is
Ah,
another facet of sexism, which I don't think I'll be able to untangle in the space of an hour. But it is another example of this ageism, which is, and the most
mm,
insidious form of it is self-directed ageism. We turn on ourselves. We are so afraid of being old and we think it must be terrible. So we defeat ourselves. We don't acknowledge it. We try everything possible to hide it.
yes.
And yeah, it's too scary. Um, and again, my position has always been, hey, own it. You've earned it. Own it, and be happy about it, and use the time to start something new. Uh,
Yeah.
Retirement was always about the beginning of the end, and my pitch in the after work is it's not the end, it's the beginning of something new if you want it. And we
Mhm.
have that time, and it's ours to use to bring ourselves joy, to expand our knowledge, to still contribute to the world in our own ways, and to be part of the world.
This is
It's
a great way to wrap up, is to
okay.
just keep the mic in front of you, and I get to nod and listen and smile and just be glad that we got back together again. Um, i- do you have something that you don't want anyone to miss in your book? You might even do a teaser on, make sure that you read the section about, or do you have an anecdote? Did you write a poem? I don't know. I've not seen it. And yet I know it is on its way in the mail. Waco is not on the main. It does take like a while for
It will
things to arrive.
it will get there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I haven't talked about, and I think it's worth mentioning, is that when you go from working to not working,
Hmm.
it's a transition. And transitions can be very smooth or they can be hard. And really, about 1 in 3 people experience a very difficult transition. I think it's generally the men who have it harder, particularly the ones who have been career focused their whole life, to the exclusion of other things. And because of the sexism in our society, we let men do that. We let them focus on their career. And women, on the other hand, have always been multitasking. That's the role that they got stuck with, doing many things at the same time. And if they are working women, stepping away from work just alters the balance of what they're juggling. It's not a shock. It's a smaller hole in their lives. For men who have been doing nothing but working, it can come as a tremendous blow. I One person that I spoke to for the book was a department head at a university, and he was very used to people being deferential to him and treating him with respect. And when he retired, he missed it. He realized they weren't respecting him as the person; they were respecting the position. and now he didn't have the position, and now he had gone from being somebody prominent to being a nobody. Those kind of things are hard, especially for career-focused men. And part of the book is about how to make that transition and look for something uh, positive to do to replace that hole in your life.
Wow. That's rather sobering for me. Part of the perk of having the right number of birthdays is that I'm registered for free to show up anytime I want to use machines that I get trained on to strengthen my muscles.
Right.
Because that keeps me out of the hospital. That
Yes.
keeps me from falling and hurting myself. That makes me more aware of why something hurts. Maybe I'm just I don't have strength just in that one spot, and it's cascading. A gentleman came in. He was dressed for his job. I'm going to say that he was a mailman, and said hi to the boss when I was in the office at the gym that I'm part of, and made some comment. A comment was made, "You're looking really fit." And he goes, "I haven't had time to come in because I'm taking part of somebody else's shift." And so it's like, well, that's really working for you. And the comment was, "Yes, but I won't be able to maintain that sort of thing as I get older." And then it went into a conversation of statistics that mailmen, when they do retire, I can't give you what the age is or anything, but they tend to die within 2 to 3 years. I'm like, I have no idea what that is based upon. I will say that this person is impacted by those sentences, so much so that the boss said, well, you want to get in here then when you do retire and keep up. And it's like, I could never exercise in here like I do going up and down driveways. And it's like, well, we'll do the best we can. And it was just this despairing that if I ever retire, it's just, and I thought, oh, he needs Don Auction's book of pursuing something else, like practice, rehearse. You were talking about auditioning. That rehearse your retirement so much so that the transition is, okay, it's real now, but I'm not just jumping in like a person who's just come to the end of their stint in the military. And men and women have both said to me, I was lost. I was so scared. I didn't know how to civilian. You cannot believe how programmed I was for someone tells me what to do. Capable, yes. How to pivot, how to assess myself, how to get into something that's as fulfilling as the way that the military is set up. Wow. So we are at the end. My husband, who has been our producer, has us up in wonderful timing. The Afterwork, Finding Fulfilling Alternatives to Retirement. Both Jeanette Liardi and Janine Vanderberg have given it 2 thumbs up. And if you are a mailman, a mail delivery person, you can read this and know that it was written by a man. It is for whoever you are. You may have been a female, totally focused on your career, no kids, and you're like, I'm going into solo aging. somebody stop. And so read his book and you'll be fine.
Thank you, Christine. It has been a real pleasure to be back on your show. I appreciate the invitation very much.
Oh, thank you so much. And go ahead and say your name is DONAKCHIN. So donauction.com is a way to find everything. And say the full title of your book one last time.
It's The Afterwork: Finding Fulfilling Alternatives to Retirement.
Thank you, Dawn. I'm so glad to see you again.
Thank you, Christine.
3+ years later.
Yes.
All righty. Bye. Have a wonderful Monday.
Thank you. Take
You're
care.
welcome. You too.